This is Election 2020, New Mexico House District 36. I'm Fred Martino, KRWG Public Media and the League of Women Voters, pleased to present today's forum. The rules are simple. Candidates have up to 90 seconds to answer each question and should not mention their opponent in the answer. My co-host from the League is Dale Yeo, and we welcome candidate Nathan Small. Brandi Polanco could not join us today. Nathan, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Fred, and thank you, Dale, for doing this for the citizens of Doña Ana County and giving us the opportunity to have a dialogue.
Okay. Well, we'll have our first question now, Nathan. In what ways, if any, should the tax system in New Mexico be reformed? Explain your answer, and we should note that in the second question, you'll have a chance to talk about the tax on Social Security. So that's a separate question. Nathan?
Great. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Dale. Our tax structure has grown more unfair and less useful for the state. So our gross receipts tax has climbed, which places higher taxes on middle and lower income New Mexicans. We've begun to make some steps in terms of the important reforms that are out there, including making sure that out-of-state corporations and others pay their fair share, including the internet sales tax, because so many of us purchase goods and services over the internet now. The remaining work that needs to be done is all about working to lower that gross receipts tax rate by eliminating many of the exemptions, deductions, and credits, many of which do not really don't serve a purpose or don't serve a purpose that benefits all of New Mexicans. Additional things like a lower tax rate when you on capital gains earnings, essentially for those folks who are fortunate enough to have trust funds, to be invested in the stock market and others, the profits they make are actually taxed lower than the income that so many other New Mexicans take home. We need to fix some of those really kind of unfair things, take out some of those deductions and credits, and in so doing, be able to have sufficient revenue to have a state that serves all New Mexicans while lowering that large gross receipts tax burden that currently exists for New Mexicans.
Thank you. Dale?
Nathan, should New Mexico continue to tax Social Security benefits? Explain, please.
Thank you, Dale. I am very open to reducing and potentially removing the tax on Social Security benefits. I am also mindful as the only member for the Doña Ana County delegation sitting on the House Appropriations Committee, where we're seeing tremendous budget stress leading to potential cuts in areas like education, healthcare, some of the infrastructure investments that will benefit all New Mexicans, that we have to make sure that we offset when we have a reduction in that tax, in the Social Security tax. That said, this is something where folks have worked their entire lives, and we need to be welcoming and rewarding to that in a way that I don't think we're quite at right now.
Okay, our next question now, Nathan. Starting pay for teachers is nearly 20% lower in New Mexico as compared to districts in El Paso, which start at more than $50,000 a year. How do you assess efforts to make the state's salaries more competitive?
Thank you, Fred. Such an important question. Since I was elected in 2016, we have worked to reverse the drastic hits to teacher salaries and the resulting cut in people who wanted to be teachers. We had record numbers of folks leaving the profession, dwindling numbers of people wanting to be a teacher in New Mexico. That's why in the last 2 years, we've included significant raises for educators and all school personnel, because they're an integral part of a child's education. This year, even in the special session, when we had a 25% reduction in revenue, we still included a salary increase for teachers and for educators. And I am going to fight to not only maintain those increases that have come at all levels, but I am going to fight to continue to advance those, knowing that our quality of life, our low property taxes, and other attributes make New Mexico a really awesome place, especially after we've gotten rid of the over testing and the unfair mandates on teachers and students. This is part of the fundamental effort we have to continue to improve education. And the Education Moonshot, I was proud to help be a part of on the House Appropriations Committee that included record investments, including for teacher pay. That's the kind of work that we have to fight to continue, and I am dedicated to doing that, even in these tough times.
Thank you, Dale.
In the same vein, are you satisfied with how much money was allocated to the Early Childhood Trust Fund in 2020 legislative session? Explain, please.
Thank you, Dale. You know, this was an important step, creating that Early Childhood Trust Fund. It came at a time when we had record revenues related to not only oil and gas production, but also the royalties and the one-time lease sales. That said, I am a strong proponent of tapping the 1% additional from the land grant permanent fund in order to bring the necessary investments to early childhood education. So no, I don't think our job is done there. I really welcome and honor the significant investments that have happened over the last number of years and have been kind of, we've pushed the gas a little bit since I was proud to be elected in 2016, but I do think there is additional work there to do, because so much of the learning and the potential and the opportunity for all New Mexicans is connected to those early childhood services and those wraparound early childhood services.
Nathan, what actions do you support to improve the accessibility and quality of health care in New Mexico, if any?
Thank you, Fred. This is a critical question for all New Mexicans, especially New Mexicans in more rural parts of the state, which is really everywhere except Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Las Cruces. I was proud to be a co-sponsor along with House member Doreen Gallegos, who was the main sponsor for the Graduate Medical Education Act. This act created a grant fund and appropriated money to support the furtherance of the graduate medical educations, essentially the continuing education for our doctors and other healthcare professionals. And it was targeted to those rural parts of the state and parts of the state that are currently underserved. And further, it was targeted towards critical areas like behavioral health and general practitioners. And I'm so excited that the Burrell College was the recipient of some of these funds, bringing new doctors, new positions down here to southern New Mexico and to Las Cruces. That's the kind, and there were additional spots that have been created around the state. The fact that that legislation, which Representative Doreen Gallegos led, I was really proud to co-sponsor, passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. That's one way we expand the accessibility. I was also really proud to be the lead sponsor on the bill to end surprise billing. That's when folks go in for procedures, whether it's an emergency or a planned procedure, somebody who is outside of their network ends up being part of their care, and they get hit with these incredible bills. We banned that practice for private insurance here in the state of New Mexico, one of the first states and the state that took the strongest step, not only for emergency care, but also for these planned hospital visits. That's another way we work on this.
Thank you, Nathan. Dale?
On to the economy. What should the legislature do to improve the New Mexico economy and ensure job growth, Nathan?
Thank you, Dale. This is an area that I've been so proud to help lead on. We have to take our competitive advantages, maximize those, and also be at the forefront of new and emerging technologies. I was proud to sponsor the Value Added Agriculture Act, which passed with really unanimous support. That takes the commodities that we grow here, and we have a long and storied history and heritage of growing in New Mexico, and it's going to support the value added activities that bring more revenue back to producers, more revenue to the state, and create more jobs. Similarly, I've been proud to be a strong proponent of trade, where we've seen vast increases and continued growth at Santa Teresa, supporting businesses all across New Mexico. Additionally, I was proud to sponsor the Energy Transition Act, putting New Mexico at the forefront of our energy transition to clean energy. It's estimated to create over 8,000 statewide jobs, and New Mexico State is taking a strong leadership role in developing those careers, energy management, the cybersecurity that goes along with that. In other areas where I've been proud to sponsor legislation, including in protecting fresh water and the innovation that's needed in our water space, I think that speaks to being at the forefront of these new and emerging technologies, solving problems we have here at home while creating more opportunities. One final thing that I'll mention is in areas with energy, we are a net energy exporter. We have to continue to stay at the forefront there, whether it's water, agriculture, hydrogen, and the other opportunities with clean energy that exist. That's something I am determined to do and really proud to help lead as a member of the House Appropriations Committee.
Nathan, do you favor the legalization of recreational marijuana in New Mexico? Explain.
Thank you, Fred. You know, I have come to a point where I do support the legalization of recreational cannabis for people, for New Mexicans or all folks, 21 years of age or older, with strict safeguards that are meant to protect New Mexico's children, protect all New Mexicans from overuse and abuse, that are meant to drive out the illegal market for cannabis that costs us dearly in lives, in people sent to jail, in the drug trade sponsored violence that affects all New Mexicans. And so I think we can do this safely. We can do it in a way that protects New Mexicans, provides some additional revenue, and really fights back, pushes that illegal market out of New Mexico so that we can all be safer as a result.
Thank you. Dale.
Nathan, should it be legal in New Mexico for a physician to assist a patient in dying? Please explain.
Thank you, Dale. This is something that I have yet to vote upon. It is not something that has made it to the House floor in my 2 terms. It's something that is incredibly important and where we all can come with different values to the same table, and where we need a strong, compassionate discussion to discuss and make progress on this issue of compassionate care. I am open to processes that allow folks who are of sound mind, who have been given full sense of information with strong legal safeguards at all steps of the process. But the potential to bring more dignity and more choice to New Mexicans is something I think we need to seriously look at.
Nathan, do you support any adjustments to current gun regulations? Explain.
Thank you, Fred. So as I think probably many folks know, I'm a lifelong gun owner. I'm a proud hunter and sportsman, and just so lucky to get to use and hunt on New Mexico's public lands. As a gun owner, I think responsible gun ownership is absolutely critical. We have the Second Amendment as a right, and we also have responsibilities. That's why I was proud to support universal background checks, because that's something that strong majorities of all New Mexicans support. I've purchased firearms where you go through that background check. It is not onerous, and it's something that helps keep us all safer and keeps guns out of the hands of dangerous criminals. I also voted for legislation that provided a judicial process that allows, when folks are a threat to others and or themselves, when that is judicially adjudicated with due process, that there can be a temporary kind of giving up of one's right to own firearms. Now, I think we need to, we've done these two important steps. I think we need to make sure to implement these safely, to implement these in a way that is fair. And so I don't necessarily see the need for new additional measures. I think we have taken important steps. We need to make sure that those work for all New Mexicans. One thing I will add, however, is that as we have seen, when folks are potentially threatening and or intimidating fellow Americans, fellow New Mexicans who are exercising their First Amendment right to free speech, we have to find a way to make sure folks are safe when they exercise their First Amendment rights. And it is not right, and I am certainly open to ways that that protect those First Amendment rights and don't allow folks to threaten or intimidate people with the use of firearms who are exercising their First Amendment rights.
Thank you. Dale.
Nathan, should New Mexico promote renewable energy, and if so, how?
Thank you, Dale. The answer is yes. We are incredibly rich when it comes to renewable energy resources. That includes being second in the entire country when it comes to sun, somewhere between 6 and 10 when it comes to wind, rich geothermal energy. When you put it all together, we're actually estimated from the University of Colorado State University's Center for the New Energy Economy to have the most economic potential of any state in the country by tapping into our clean energy resources. As I mentioned, I was really proud to sponsor the Energy Transition Act that'll guarantee we are carbon-free electricity by 2045 and 80% renewable energy by 2040, with strong interim targets beginning in 2030 when we're going to be at 50% renewable energy. Long story short, we have incredible potential to benefit economically. I've been proud to lead legislation supporting more transmission to tap into that clean energy, especially in rural parts of our state, allow that energy to get to markets, bringing money back home to New Mexicans, supplying clean power, not only in New Mexico, but across our country. We have much more work to do there on regional transmission organizations. And I would also note that in southeast New Mexico, of course, where oil and gas is such a strong part of New Mexico, helping power our budget, there is strong movement towards utilizing renewable energy and carbon-free energy to power not only those operations, but to supply more power to the grid. We have a great chance as an energy exporter to benefit economically.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Nathan, what is the role of the states, if any, in abortion regulation?
Thank you, Fred, for this really important question. I believe that all of us can come to this issue holding our own moral values, but we should not be putting government right in the middle of this critical and important question that faces a woman, her faith if she so chooses, her family if she so chooses, and her medical providers. And so I think that there are many different national conversations around this issue. I think as a state, we should not seek to impose government and state government specifically in this most important of areas.
Dale.
Nathan, do you favor the open primary as a way for independents and DTS, declined state voters, to participate in primary elections? Explain.
Thank you, Dale. I do. When the state of New Mexico, using our tax dollars is sponsoring elections, we should not be excluding New Mexicans from participating in those elections. It's as simple as that. So I do support ways to get to open primaries. There are a number of different ways. And in fact, we've actually passed legislation to that effect. But I think it is simply untenable, unfair, and not right when we have elections that are sponsored by the state and are closed to some otherwise duly registered voters of that state, of our state.
Okay, Nathan, what would you change, if anything, about the current campaign finance laws in New Mexico?
Thank you, Fred. This is, again, another very important question. We have added additional levels of transparency and reporting to this. I think that's so important. We need to make sure that all New Mexicans know where the funds being used for in these political campaigns are coming from. I think we also need to strongly look at public financing or other options that reduce the amount, of corporate money that are involved in our elections. I think some of these areas, including when it comes to like PRC commissioners and others, we have opportunities even this year to reduce that amount of corporate money that is involved in these political campaigns, and we should take every opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Dale.
Should we establish public financing for state elections? Nathan, explain.
Thank you, Dale. I am very open to public financing for elections. Of course, we need to be very cognizant, especially in these very tight and tough budgetary times, that first and foremost resources should be going toward education, toward healthcare, toward economic development and infrastructure. With that said, having free, fair, and elections that everyone can feel confident in, having a public financing option is something that I think would be long-term in our state's best interests.
Nathan, what actions would you support to create more stable revenue streams for state government?
You know, sitting on the House Appropriations Committee, this issue rings home in such important ways. As I mentioned, we saw a 25% drop in our revenue in going into our special session that was held in June 2020. That was based off of the collapse in the worldwide price of oil. So what we have to do is we have to broaden and diversify New Mexico's economy. All of these areas, whether it's value-added agriculture, renewable energy, trade, technology, those are all areas that we have to continue to grow our economy. We also have to wisely use the funds and the dollars that we do get from the oil and gas industry and look to diversify, innovate, and continue evolving in that space, knowing that climate change is an existential threat to all New Mexicans, but that we should welcome everybody to that table to help solve that problem. Ultimately, some of these largest problems, whether it's climate change, water scarcity, and others, we have to welcome everybody to the table to solve those through technology, innovation, diversification. And I think in so doing, we will also help balance out and smooth out the revenue for our budgets. And it's something that I've been proud to be part of on multiple committees while serving in the State House.
Thank you. Dale.
Nathan, explain whether you do or do not support an amendment to the state constitution to compensate legislators for their service beyond the per diem amounts they now receive.
Thank you for this question. Ultimately, I do support such an amendment allowing legislators to be paid because we're one of the last states that does not have such a provision. We need to get this right. We need to start small. We need to focus always on education, healthcare, the economy, public safety, and infrastructure, but being able to have a paid legislature at an appropriate amount, which includes increasing the service and increasing the service to all New Mexicans. I think that's going to create more stable, longer lasting, and better representation for all New Mexicans.
Nathan Small. Nathan, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Fred, Dale, thank you both so much for this important part of our democracy. Please stay safe, and thank you guys very much.
Thank you. We are out of time. That has been Election 2020, New Mexico, House District 36. Brandi Polanco could not join us today. We also thank my co-host, Dale Yeo. For all of us at KRWG News, I'm Fred Martino. Have a great week and vote